This week, the Wall Street Journal interviewed the CTO, Chief Technical Officer for OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. She was asked the question, was ChatGPT learned on the data of YouTube? And she sort of looked at her and you could tell she was contemplating, how do I answer this question without another lawsuit coming in on OpenAI? And she said, well, I really don't know. I can't answer that. You're the chief technical officer for one of the most revolutionizing websites / software that basically sparked all of this artificial intelligence phenomenon recently. And you can't answer that question. The reason you can't answer that, because you know that it's my data and it's your data that they're learning off of, and you ain't getting squat. OpenAI has opened the door for some of the most exponential growth that we will see in the world. It is because they figured out how to take all this data in the world and being able to build large language algorithms, meaning an algorithm that is way more than if this happens and this happens, therefore this happens statements, to give me the most detailed explanation of the Constitution and what it means for us and blah, 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 blah. You get my drift. It's more than a if-then statement. The problem is that we have created this data throughout time and history. And yeah, that's probably $500,000 right there at least for a trailer in Florida. Really? This is exponential growth if you want to know what exponential growth is. But I got off track there. They have taken the data that is publicly available. They've also paid certain companies like Shutterstock and companies like that to license that imagery. My question is, I have created since I was first introduced to the internet in 94, 92, by Dr. Strange at the University of South Alabama. And then up until 98, 97, 98, when I got on the internet and I was actively on the internet, they have all that data. They have access to all of it. Do they have access to my emails? Oh, I would suspect so. I suspect everything I've ever touched, created, or done on the internet is in some sort of file somewhere, just as yours is as well. Now you have this OpenAI, ChatGPT thing. You have Gemini, which is Google's program. And then you've got a million other AI companies being developed. Even this new Devin, which is a developer program that's actually learning how to program and actually putting developers on their heels to become obsolete in a way as they exist today. And of course, everything evolves at some level. But we're talking all that data is available. But here's the thing. I don't get paid for any of it. Anything I've ever created. Now, of course, YouTube's going to pay out advertising dollars to this video, and if it does well, hold on, I got to get across the road without playing Frogger here, for those who remember Frogger. Anyhow, I don't get paid for it, and neither do you. See, that's the most valuable asset I think a lot of us have, is our knowledge, our intelligence. And what is that worth? it wasn't worth crap unless you were a consultant or hired for a job because you do a certain knowledge level about a certain subject. Now today, because of AI and artificial intelligence, and I think it's important to understand what this is. Think of all the information and data in the world ever created since the beginning of writing something down or etching something into a rock is data. That's information. That's intelligence. That's knowledge. That's everything, right? Now imagine a program. Imagine a million elite experts in a million different subjects who sit in a room and are able to access all that data and sift through it. And somebody proposes a question, they can go through all that, and because they have so many experts, they can analyze it and give you a solution. Prior to AI, that would take like a real long time to answer a question because you got all these different opinions and you have probably one or two ways of ciphering through that information and coming to some solution or conclusion, right? Well, what artificial intelligence has done is it gone out and it's been programmed in a large language model, complicated thinking model, and able to access all that data that is available to it or has been uploaded to it and be able to read through it, decipher it, and then come to some conclusions. And because of the speed, the GPU thinking speed, think of GPUs as the brain, and the faster the GPU is, the faster those questions are answered. You get a solution and answer that with high probability that is correct, okay? So now you have a million elite experts at your disposal. And you can get on ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these other AI programs that are coming up. And you can ask in normal English, in-depth questions. And in a matter of seconds, not minutes, not hours, but seconds, you can get an answer. Even more, you can now ask it to create pictures and images, and you can get as detailed as you want, and it will get within probably 90% accurate of what you want. The problem is you're worth something. Your thoughts and knowledge and everything you've ever accumulated over time is worth something. But now the haves are getting more money and making more money off of you. The haves and the have-nots. You and I are nots. They are the haves. And the question is, when will we get paid? Now the big question is it stealing, or did we just voluntarily give it up? And I gotta believe, if you look into the disclaimers that we all at some point agreed to, it says that we give it up. And that means they can have access to it and do whatever they want with it, right? Now, there are new disclaimers that say they won't sell your content or your information, but it doesn't mean they're not actually using it for their financial benefit. The question I'm trying to figure out, maybe somebody can respond to this and say, here's how we can do it. Here's how we, as creators, as individuals, can get paid for what we create. All of it. And I'm not just talking YouTube videos or tweets, or what do they call them, X's now, or something like that. how do we get paid for the emails we send that some server is actually combing through and picking up pieces and parts? You imagine like some sort of engineer at a bridge building company emails another engineer all of this technical data about building a bridge, and now the mothership has access to it. How do you get paid for that? How do you copyright that? How do you trademark that? That to me is like, once that is figured out, holy cow, now you answer the whole universal income question or problem. How do you even up the score a little bit when it comes between the haves and the have-nots? I'm not saying like Joe, who's actually not lifted a finger other than throwing hatred on Twitter or X for the last 20 some years, he becomes a multi-billionaire. But what I am saying is he makes enough to live and to sustain his lifestyle, even though he's working 2 jobs, right? I mean, why do people throw hatred? It's because they're just pissed off because they just feel cheated, right? So how do you get paid for that crap? That is the big question. Kerry talks about it and has talked about it on the channel for a long time. But to me, I'm more and more figuring out, after watching this Wall Street Journal interview with the chief technical officer that you can find on the internet. I'll actually post the link below. And her not being able to answer that question of, did you use YouTube as a part of your data mining source? And she goes, well, I don't really know. I mean, that would be like the chef who actually oversees all of the cooks in the most expensive restaurant, the most accomplished chef, saying, yeah, I don't know if we did put onions in that. And he made the recipe. Come on, dude. Come on. Let's get paid. Let's figure out how to get paid for our data. It doesn't have to be ridiculous. It just has to be, well, you're creating stuff. Your knowledge is worth a whole lot. You've worked hard for it. No matter what knowledge level you're at, it's worth something. So let's get paid.